I once had a hitchhiking experience that still sends shivers down my spine whenever I think about it. It happened on a chilly autumn evening as darkness settled in. I was at the bar with some friends and we had all Ubered there, but they all met some guys and went home with them, and I wasn't about to pay for an entire Uber by myself, so I decided to walk. It was probably about a 10-minute walk back to my apartment. I didn't live in the city, but a kind of rural small town where you wouldn't expect anything to happen to you. Not even a minute into my walk, the skies opened and rain came thundering down. I took off running, but I was a little tipsy and it made me dizzy. I saw headlights coming from in front of me, so I waved to try and get them to stop. Unfortunately, they did. Grateful for the chance to escape the cold and rain, I hopped into the passenger seat. The guy seemed friendly enough, offering a warm smile and striking up casual conversation. We chatted about mundane things, and everything initially seemed harmless. He told me he was just gonna go and turn around on the next street up. He then went down the road and didn't turn around. I asked what he was doing and he told me he thought it'd be faster to go this way. But as we traveled down the desolate road, a change came over him. His cheerful demeanor shifted into something more sinister. His eyes darted between the road and me, an unsettling intensity, and I started to get the feeling that I needed to get out of there. My instinct screamed at me to escape, to find any way out of that vehicle. But I was trapped, surrounded by darkness and miles away from any semblance of safety. I mustered up the courage to break the tension, asking about our destination. That's when his response sent a chill straight to my core. He spoke of an abandoned house nestled deep within the woods. His voice took on an eerie tone as he described the house's haunting history, tales of dark rituals and inexplicable disappearances. I felt a knot tighten in my chest as the realization sank in. I had willingly stepped into a nightmare. I started to look him up and down to see if I could take him, but I am not a very big person. Before I could do anything, he noticed and said I wouldn't try anything, and he lifted up his shirt to reveal a gun in his waistband. That's when the panic really started to set in. I pleaded with him to stop the car, my voice trembling with fear. I told him I wouldn't tell anybody, but he simply chuckled, his laughter echoing in the confines of the vehicle. It was then that I knew I had to act, to fight for my survival. Summoning every ounce of courage, I unbuckled my seatbelt, flung open the door, and jumped out. It hurt a lot, but nothing was seriously injured, and I made a mad dash into the blackened woods. I could hear his brakes screeching as he came to a halt, but I didn't stop to see if he was following me. Branches scratched at my face, and my heart pounded in my ears. I didn't dare look back, fearing what I might see. Finally, I stumbled upon a remote house, its porch light casting a feeble glow. I pounded on the door, my pleas for help blending with the sound of my racing heartbeat. The door creaked open, and I was met with the kind eyes of an old woman who sensed the terror etched across my face. She let me inside and I was able to call my mom, who told me to stay there while she came to get me. It's scary to think just how close I had come to a fate far worse than I could ever imagine. I still think about it to this day. I don't think I'll ever forget it. Don't hitchhike, kids, it's not worth it. So, this story takes place in late 2016, the year Pokemon Go came out and the time the game had huge hype around it. So me being a teenager who wanted to play what everyone else was playing, I got the game myself and I enjoyed it. One of my friends also played the game, and we had the idea of having a sleepover at my house and have our own Pokemon adventure together. We both thought it was going to be a lot of fun. So we got it organized, and my friend, who I will call Dan, stayed over at my house. For the day we messed around, ate snacks, played video games on my PS4 and etc. It was at 10 p.m. when Dan suggested we go out and play Pokemon Go. I brought up that it was too late, but he persisted. So I asked my mom if it was fine and she said it was. Sure, I had my concerns and all, but I honestly thought nothing bad would happen. This was due to the fact I live in a small and quiet town. No one would be out this late, so it wasn't like we were going to get mugged in an alley. So we grabbed our phones and headed off down the main street of my town. We walked past the cemetery, then past the football oval. But as we passed the football oval, we saw a black Ford Territory parked by it. No lights were on, so we didn't think anyone was inside of it, so we walked past it. We got onto the footpath past the oval when we noticed the Ford pull up next to us on the footpath. We found it strange but kept walking anyway. We were passing the post office when we saw the same Ford pull into the car park in front of the post office. This gave us the suspicion this random car was following us. So we kept walking, but at a faster pace. We walked past the post office, and were now walking past our town park. As we were walking by the park, Dan told me to hide behind the bush, which surrounded the park entrance. As we crouched down behind the bushes, we saw the Ford pull on at the park entrance, confirming 100% that this Ford was following us. After what felt like an eternity for me, the Ford drove off and we got out of the park and started running back to my house. As we started running back to my house, I looked behind me to make sure the Ford was gone, and what I saw horrified me. The car turned left at the end of the street. I originally thought that maybe he was just leaving the town, but then I realized. This park has two main entrances. The way he turned, he was driving to the second entrance, meaning he believed we ran to the other side of the park and was trying to cut us off that way. There was no argument left. This guy wasn't following us for safety purposes or etc. He was chasing us. I am not an athletic person, unlike my friend Dan. But in this instant, I was keeping up with him from the sheer fear of what will happen if this driver caught us or what his intentions were with us. We ran past the post office, past the football oval, and we were halfway past the cemetery when we saw the headlights of the Ford behind us, and I was terrified. There was nowhere to hide. It was a footpath with a giant fence separating the footpath and the cemetery. There was nothing to hide behind. Luckily enough, Dan came up with an idea. He pointed out we were both wearing dark hoodies. He said to put the hood over our heads, crouch down and pretend to be rocks. At the time I thought it was an absolute stupid idea, but that was all we had. So we did just that, pretended to be rocks. And, the Ford drove past us, no slowing down at all. Which meant this stupid plan actually worked. After he drove past we continued booking it. We were at the end of the cemetery when we saw him driving our way again. This time there was a bin to hide behind, which we did. We drove past us again and we continued booking it. We got to my house, and locked the door behind us to assure some kind of safety. We explained to my mom what happened, and after that day she made some new rules. No more playing Pokemon Go at night, and my little sister was not allowed to go out by herself to play it. She wasn't happy about that, but at the least we are still here to tell this story. This is probably the creepiest, most unexplainable thing that has ever happened to me. I used to work overnight as a security guard at the local port. Usually none of the port workers would stay overnight except for the safety official. I wouldn't be on the shift alone since the site has a radius of nearly 2 miles. Overnight, usually there would be 3 guards, including me. Since the area was fairly big, there were different posts, but front gate was the main entrance area where all of the guards would be stationed overnight since there was no need to put them in other posts due to the fact that there was no activity in the site at this time. The veteran guards that have been there for years would often say that the site was haunted, given the fact that there have been accidents and deaths that occurred in the area a long time ago. I was aware that people died there due to freak accidents, and I do believe in angels and demons since I'm actually a religious person, but I always thought that the superiors were just messing with the new guys. I would work 5 to 6 nights out of the week, and for the first few weeks, I never really saw or heard anything out of the ordinary, except for maybe a few questionable creaks, and would see a few misplaced objects while doing my patrol rounds, but nothing too crazy. Just to describe the setting to you, this is a fairly big site, and on occasions when there were big projects being constructed at the port, the workers would sometimes stay overnight. Due to the fact that there were times where port workers were required to stay at the port for a few days, there's a gym in the site for their convenience. This gym is fairly old. In the gym there's a sauna, weights, and even a racquetball court. If you don't know what a racquetball court is, it's similar to an indoor tennis court with thin plastered walls and thick glass doors. Usually on our patrol rounds, me and one of the other guards, Mike, would stop by the gym and play a few rounds of racquetball before returning back to the front gate. On one of those nights, me and Mike decided to hit a full workout instead of playing racquetball in the cage. This is around 2:30 a.m. and the entire building is so quiet that you can hear the electricity running through the lights. The air conditioner is off, and so is everything else. The only thing that's running are the lights. 15 to 20 minutes into the workout, we hear a loud thump. We crossed it off as nothing and continued working out. Then after a few more minutes, we heard the loud thump once more. At first we thought it was our lieutenant, which could have been walking around, but then we radioed him and he gave us his location, which was front gate. We tried thinking logically on what could be making those thumps on the wall. They were coming from the court on the other side. We thought it was the air conditioner, but then we remembered that it was off, and even when it's switched on during the day, there's no reports of thumps coming from the air conditioner. After a few more minutes, the thumps started occurring one right after another. We were very creeped out at this point, but what we were about to witness still scares the absolute shit out of me till this day. We started to approach the other side of the gym to where the glass door was. We turned on the flashlight and aimed it towards the clear glass door, and I got chills all over my body and I started tearing so much out of fear that I was about to cry. We saw one of the balls rolling slowly by itself inside the court, but there was no one in there. So that means the loud thumps were the balls mysteriously being tossed against the wall as if someone/something was playing inside the cage. We were both so confused and frightened to how this was really happening, we couldn't make sense of any of it. We were scared shitless and we started yelling and running away because we knew that there was probably something evil toying with us right there. As we sprinted full speed back to the front gate, the lieutenant saw us and asked why we were tearing and running in a ridiculous manner. We told him what we witnessed and his facial expression scared us even more. He then said, "That's why there's always guards that quit often, there's something evil in the area. And it's not the first time that something that bad has happened here." He then showed us security footage of dark figures and shadows literally passing through the office areas and lights mysteriously switching on and off. Till this day, I still get chills recounting my experience with my friends and family, and I'm even getting chills right now as I'm typing this. I had never had a real encounter with the supernatural until that night. Many say that it was a demonic presence messing around, others say it was a ghost of a dead person who died in the area. I don't know what it was, but I didn't last long in the job after that. There were other experiences, but I'll send it at a later time. Thanks for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, comment something like "Wow, I feel sorry for people that didn't watch all the way through." Thank you and have a great day.